Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's good to see you guys back. And today, Arsenal make a new signing. So we're going to talk about that today. I guess all of your frustrations have been alleviated. Not all of it, but you know what, guys? It's good to get off the mark. It is good to get off the mark. And I think the one thing that Arsenal are challenging us with is quite refreshing, actually, because for me, I'm always thinking back to last summer. Now, if I asked you guys about last summer, what would you guys say in terms of the players that we brought in? You'd be quite surprised. I think you would. I think you'd be very, very surprised. What's going on, bro? I think you would be very surprised. Let me just change the banner on this. Last summer, we brought in all these different players. Nobody sort of realized, well, we all knew about Odegaard, but none of us really knew about Tomiyasu. None of us knew about Tavares. Everybody said that the Ramsdale deal wouldn't work. And quite frankly, the signings worked out. And they really helped us in terms of what we did. We know that the veterans didn't help us. But these signings now, I think we come to expect these type of signings. You know, what you hear the media talk about, and every morning you pick up and you watch the rumors and all of that, and you see all the transfer dailies, you see all what's going on in the news, and then all of a sudden it is just like Arsenal to go left field and just bring up somebody who nobody has even talked about any before. Now, Fabio Vieira, he had a release clause of 34 million, which is roughly about the same as the other player, which is I'm trying to remember his name now. I just did something on my podcast with him today, Vitina, yeah? And what I like about this is that they tend to go for these players that work within their system. They're all adept. They're all good at looking after the ball. They're all good with the ball at their feet. And Arsenal have just pulled one out of the bag. Now, the question is it might not be what everybody is expected in terms of the fan base, but he seems to fit the mold of what Arteta's looking at. So we'll talk about that and come into it for a second. But for right now, I just want to say hi to the guys who have joined me. Tony, how are you getting on, bro? Good to see you.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty good, brother. Yeah, just interested to see what's going on in the world of Arsenal. It's been a while, so yeah, let's get it on.
And an African Gouda with a new haircut. Is that new? Cheese. We're gonna have to blow that up. We're gonna have to blow that up. Is that a new haircut that you've got there?
No, not really. But maybe since last time we chatted, I got this haircut maybe a week or two ago.
Wow. Man, you're definitely getting ready for transfer summer, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you guys have seen, but apparently we've agreed a deal with Man City for Jesus as well.
Yeah,
So
that's right. Yeah.
it's been 2 in 1 today, really. So yeah, I had to come on and express my feelings and excitement. Obviously, big roller coaster in the past few days with the Bissouma stuff, which I think we'll touch on. I still am disappointed, obviously. But if we make other signings and stuff, I really don't care, right? As long as we do the business, it's fine. If we don't, then obviously I'm fussed about it.
Yeah. So
So
let's talk about.
a dog, man. He ain't all that. I mean, you know, he's a nice to have. He ain't a must have.
Who, Jesus?
No,
It's Bissouma. We're gonna.
Bissouma, yeah. It would have been.
We're gonna have a look at how that pairs up. We're gonna have a look at how that pairs up.
Cover with Partey, right? Because 25. I think it's the price for me, right? I agree. He was not a necessity, but for the price and the age and the quality and the experience of Premier League, I mean, and the fact that he's going to our rivals, like,
yeah. But the thing is, I made this point to Apollo last time we were on here. That type of player, that midfield defensive chopper, there's a billion of them in global football. They come a dime a dozen.
There is, but I think the point that I made on my last, not the video I launched today, but the one last week, was the fact that Arsenal play with a single pivot and they don't really have the space for Bissouma. They have the ability to play him in terms of if Partey gets injured or if you want to play a game where you go double pivot. Tactically, he would be an asset to the team. But if you're talking about our starting 11 in a 4-3-3, there's no space for Bissouma. We play with one single pivot, and then we play with Odegaard as your 10, and then we have an attacking guy who we use in an 8 role who's next to him. And so far, that's been Xhaka, who hasn't really done well at that position. You only have to look at his creativity stats, chances created, the amount of assists he doesn't have, the lack of goals that he scores. So you only have to believe, you look at that and you see there's a space for a guy who can come in and be dynamic on the front line. Is that Bissouma? Not a chance. He's nothing near where we're looking for. He's more suited for the single pivot, which is where we have Thomas Partey. Now, would he be great as a long-term solution? Yeah, of course he would. But right now, long-term solution in Partey's position is not what we're looking for, because we already have Sambi, who we bought last season, who we're grooming. We already have El Nene, who's a very, very adept player in that role. In the 8 games he started towards the end of last season, I can't remember giving him anything underneath a 7 for any of his performances. So I don't think that Bissouma's, and we're talking about the position now, not the player. I don't think anybody in that position was of need, considering the fact that we already had Xhaka, Partey, El Nene, and Sambi in that role for single pivots. If Bissouma comes in, you've got 5 players in a position. That doesn't make sense, does it? And you've got no attacking midfielder, you've got no striker, you've got no support at right back. It doesn't make sense, does it? So
I disagree. It does. I don't think that the order matters, right? Even though he isn't the priority, shouldn't mean, and just because we haven't signed a striker in right wing shouldn't mean that we shouldn't sign a great player that's available on the cheap. I do agree in terms of long term, he definitely was the player. I disagree. I think in some games we could have played the double pivot, and it's all about competition, right? Like, let's look at Spurs. Where does he fit into that team, right? If we're talking about, if he's going to start or not. So I think he could have played a good squad rotation role for us. And hopefully we get Tielemans, and then it's not a problem.
So, guys, let's talk about the new player for Arsenal. We'll talk about Gabriel Jesus afterwards, but we already know about him. This is somebody that we don't really know too much about. So, as you guys know, it's 34 million. It's reported to be actually around 29 million. I think that 34 was euros. And the 29 is plus add-ons, so that's everything all in. Now, Vieira, first of all, I got a little running joke with Tony, but I'll get to that before I finish here. And he was attracting interest from Liverpool, Man United prior to Arsenal's agreement. It's a 5-year deal, guys, for a 22-year-old. Very, very good. I think teams are getting out of that 3- and 4-year deals because of all the problems that we're having with players with 2 years left not signing a deal, and then if the deal's not signed, they go into a last year and there's all kind of problems. So 5 years for that age group, I think, is a fantastic deal. I really do. Now, I think for us, there's a role for him, is a significant role in how he's going to play under Arteta's system as an attacking midfielder in the number 8, or even as a backup role in the number 10. So he scored, guys. Here we go. He scored 7 goals and grabbed 16 assists. The last time an Arsenal midfielder had 16 assists was Fabregas and Alex Song. And at that point, our offense was absolutely firing on all cylinders. So I absolutely love that. You're giving me a guy who's got 16 assists. If you take him out of the team, and you look at our team over the last few years, there's not even anybody near assist in double figures for Arsenal. The last player we had with those kind of figures was Ozil. He was the last player that we had.
What did Odegaard get this season?
7.
Yeah, so he was close to double digits, but yeah,
he was. But considering the striker he had in front of him, if you had Nketiah playing for more of the season, then easily Odegaard would have got double figures. But I think
at chances created, and he would have made it easily.
He would have made it exactly, and he was number 2 in the league, wasn't he, Odegaard, behind what's his name, Bruno Fernandes. Now everyone talks about Bruno Fernandes because he gets 16 assists every season. Everyone talks about Kevin De Bruyne. Guys, we have a guy who has the ability to just go crazy. And it's not in Odegaard's position. We're talking about the number 8. So you have a guy in Martin Odegaard who's creative on the right, and he has that fantastic link up with Saka. We talked about he had 122 direct passes into the final third with Saka. And then we have a guy in the number 8 role who's finally given Martinelli some support on the left. And I think that could be huge for Martinelli, because let's face it, guys, Martinelli had 6 goals, 6 assists, and a lot of people are saying his season was underwhelming. But what support did he have? Xhaka? Give me a break. If you put this guy alongside Martinelli, you're looking at total destruction on the left-hand side, and you're looking at facilitators all around Gabriel Jesus. So you're looking at Saka, you're looking at Odegaard, you're looking at I love
Martinelli
the name
and Vieira.
Martinelli and Vieira. You're looking at all of those guys playing around Gabriel Jesus. That is fantastic.
And Partey can contribute as well. We've seen him make some passes as well. So absolutely right in terms of facilitating. Like, it's really opening the door for that striker to be scoring a lot of goals next season.
I'll just finish off here. So as I said, he's exactly the type of signing that should make Arsenal proud, really. He's grabbed 16 assists. He's 2-footed. How many times have we talked about our front players being too one-sided? It's nice that they've sourced this guy. They've scouted him. He's a player that kind of gives you that. But I've watched him play all day today. I've looked at various videos. I've even watched the whole half of football for 45 minutes, because sometimes YouTube doesn't give you the full story. And he reminds me a lot of. He's got a lot of Riziki in him. He's got a lot of some Fabregas, which is why I sent Tony a message today. I said to Tony, I'm going to give you some Fabregas love. We've got a mic here that's spiking in the background. It
cooled down after a while on the last feed.
Yeah. It might be Vincey, actually.
Yeah.
It might. All right, okay, yeah. So, guys, he reminds me a little bit of Bernardo Silva and Riziki, and just a smidge of Fabregas. I don't want to go too much into the Fabregas thing, because he's very, very fluid on the ball. As I said, I love the way he goes past players. He's got so much ability. He can add something to this team. He's so gifted. 22 years old, guys. Technically, a good player with the ball at his feet. But he does have a little bit of rawness in his game, and I can see Arteta sort of working with him to refine his game, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. Now, where do I see him in terms of developing under Arteta? I see him developing with his stamina, and again, I'll come on to that later. And I see him developing with his passing in the final third. So those are the two things I'm expecting. But everywhere else, guys, goals, assists, creativity, this guy's got it. Tony, let me get your thoughts. What's your thoughts on the signing?
I can't say anything. I mean, literally, I never heard of the guy till today, so I know absolutely nothing about him. But I'm very quickly acclimatizing myself with some of the video footage that's going around on Twitter and on YouTube, and he looks decent. There's a comment in the chat about a similarity to Santi Cazorla because of his 2-footedness. That would be a dream. Because I absolutely love Santi. I mean, if you know how I love Fabregas, but after Fabregas, I think Santi came next for me.
That's why I sent you the text of that. The first thing I did is ping Tony. I said, Tony, I'm going to give you some Fabregas love today, man, because he does have that. He really does have that spatial awareness about his game and what is going on around him. You do not get 16 assists in one season by not understanding your positional play on the field. It just doesn't happen. And, granted that he's had a decent striker in front of him, but now he'll have Gabriel Jesus. He'll have ballers around him who can put the ball in the net. Before I go to La African Guna, let's say what's going on to you guys. Kurt, big shout out to you. Says, evening, lads. Good to see you back on. It's been too long. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of spot videos in the daytime because work is crazy now. I'm back on the road 3 days a week. So, and plus with the streams, You can cover pretty much what you need to in terms of transfer dailies. It's very different doing a stream with the transfers. I'd rather get it all done in that different sort of format rather than doing live streams. Cool. It's Femi. Femi says, "Evening, lads. Is it true that Arsenal have agreed a deal with City?" Yes, it's true. It's 45 million from what I'm aware, and that's pretty good because the initial bid was 37. City wanted 50 to 55. I think it is Vincey's mic that's going there.
Vincey.
And what they've done is they've just sat at a table and said, "Look, guys, let's meet halfway." And that 45 million does show it's a halfway composition for both parties. So everybody's happy. Personal terms was done last week. So yes, Gabriel Jesus is an Arsenal player. This is it. Look at this name. I'm just going to call him Salon. It says, "How's your day? My day's been really good, bro. Been working hard. I fixed up the hot tub. I can't believe I've actually got the hot tub ready to go in. As soon as I finish with you guys, I'm going to go out the back with my son and we're going to dive in the hot tub. We're just going to grab a beer and relax." Neomis, what's going on? You should be on the stream, Neomis. It says, "This guy's a bona fide starter. Well done, Arsenal. You've bagged one of the top young players in Portugal." Excellent. I totally agree. And Kuke says, "Yeah, reminds me a bit of Santi Cazorla, something we've been missing for years." And Kuke says, "Odegaard has big competition now." I don't think it's competition in the way that we are looking for an attacking midfielder to facilitate the number 8. And that could go with Tielemans. And Tielemans could give you the defensive game that this guy can't. This guy can give you an offensive game that Tielemans can't. And Tielemans is a very good offensive player. But I think with having both of them here, you can start to build and adapt your team more. Something a lot of people was criticizing Arteta for last season, but I've defended him because he's just not had the options. When you see players like this coming in, you can now see that Arteta can go with Tielemans as a number 8. He can go with this Vieira guy as a number 8. And it really depends on whether you set the team up defensively or offensively to which team you want to play. Last season, your option was Xhaka. And he didn't give you much defensively, and he certainly didn't give you much offensively. So that was hard choices last season. Now we're going into a point where we're going to have 2 strong options at that position, and it just makes everybody around them better. So going on to African Guna, what's your overall thoughts about this guy? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
Thumbs up. I'm not sure how much game time he's going to have initially. I'm not as hyped as you are as of now. I've definitely watched all the compilations and stuff. He's definitely 2-footed. I feel like the physicality might be an issue. I know I've read he has low center of gravity. He doesn't lose the ball much and stuff. And you know me, I've been complaining about the creativity in the side for a while. So yeah, absolutely right. 16 assists. Even though it was in the Portuguese league, that's quite exciting. Again, Marquinhos, Gabriel, Vieira, all Portuguese-speaking players. You can see the theme going on here, right? So, yeah, great news. I really hope he takes Xhaka's position, to be honest. That's the most exciting thing about this, is that there's another option now. And, I keep saying that it's a replacement for Xhaka, and you have people all over Twitter, losing their crap, saying that he's not the same player as Xhaka. They don't play the same style, etc., etc. And I'm like, yeah, I understand that. I'm not comparing the two as in player for player.
We're going to do a lot of comparing on this stream tonight. We're going to do a lot of comparing.
Yeah, but I'm saying, right, so they're different players. He's more of an attacking player. He's not a defensive player. But for me, he comes in for Xhaka in the starting 11 straight away right now. As of now, he's already in the starting 11. So for me, I'm happy because, Xhaka's going to be on the bench this season. It means we're going to be more creative, as you said. And Apollo, you forgot to mention that, Martinelli had a left back in Tierney that was injured all season and he was switching and rotating. That didn't help him either. So now he's going to have consistency. We know over the last few seasons, we've been very one-dimensional, as in we either attack only on the right or only on the left when we had Tierney. And now we're going to be able to attack from either side. We're gonna be able to decide and dictate where we want to attack you, pretty much. Where do we want to stick this pencil in, right? And let the water all flow out. That's really what Arsenal's gonna do. We're gonna sucker punch teams. We're gonna suffocate teams with the ball. We're just gonna have the ball. Yeah. Teams are gonna chase us, and we're going to be able to counter and score goals, right? That's why we need Jesus, and I'm assuming that's why we're signing this Vieira player who's going to be able to play with Odegaard and Partey, keep the ball for us, open up the gaps, and be able to make those passes like Odegaard is. So yeah, really exciting, to be honest. But he's still young,
I
and I want
guess
to
that
see him
puts
play.
paid to any Aouar rumors, or do we still
Yeah.
need Aouar?
No, Tony. You know our rumors are done. It's long gone.
I
No
personally
way.
don't think they're done. I really don't. You know how much I hate these rumors, but I actually believe that Arsenal's need is so great for players, numbers.
Yeah.
That I don't think the rumors are just going away just because we bought one player. Because don't forget, we're a team in need of 7 or 8 players right now. Yeah. We're going to lose 8.
Yeah, Tony, that number's gone down. They were targeting 6 to 7 players. Now it's going to be 3, 4 players.
In terms
Maybe
of
5,
one or going to go.
Yeah. That's what I've been told.
Sorry, which target is going? The target to go or the target to come?
The amount of players they're looking for in the squad is 22.
Right, but we finished the season with 18.
Yes, one's left Lacazette. One's left Lacazette, which means that there's 17 currently now.
Right.
If you're bringing Saliba in, that's 18.
Right.
So if you count him, then there's another 4 players coming in.
Well, that's minimum. It should be a 23-man squad, so you should have a need for bare minimum 5 players.
Well, it's 25 men. The maximum is 25.
So then 25. So you can't go into a season where you've got European football and be playing a 22-man squad when you actually have to have a 25-man squad. So if your figure of 25 is accurate, Arsenal need to sign 8 players.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you in terms of the squad. I agree with you in terms of the squad there, but as I understand it, and I've been told from the training ground, it's 22 that they're looking for, and then they'll make up the other numbers.
That doesn't make sense, Apollo. If your squad is required to put in a squad to the UEFA or to the Premier League of 25 players, why are you messing around with 22?
So I think that we can all find the answer to that question, and the answer is after what they did in January, which was sacrilege in my opinion, by going with that thin squad. It seems that their front office ethics and the way they want to run the team is on a thinner level than most other teams. That's what it seems.
That makes no sense because
I know it makes no sense, Tony.
But team in the country, the team at the bottom of League 3, will have a 25-man squad.
Yeah, Tony, I know it doesn't make sense, but that's what they've been doing. They've done it for the last 6 months, and I do see the reason why they would do that moving forward to next season. Tony, look, I understand it, but there's nothing we can do about it, Tony. We can't knock their door and say go and buy 7 players.
At the bare minimum, Apollo, what you can do is you say, I'm going to get 22 men and fill the rest of my 25-man squad with under 23s.
Yeah.
Or under 21s.
Yeah, which is probably what they'll do.
Say,
that's what I think they're going to do.
Yeah, that's probably what they'll do.
Go to a European season 3 men short of the requirement.
Yeah, Tony, remember that's what they'll probably do. They already have a number of players that have made up that squad that we talked about, that number 18. If you take sort of Hutchinson, if you take Coutinho, if you take a few of those guys, Swanson, they kind of were on the bench last season, weren't they? And they didn't do anything, but they had to be counted as players in that regard. So, I agree with you, but we've been told what we've been. I'm not the only person that's been told. I was told about
question that. You go ask it. I mean,
but I don't agree with it, Tony. But that's what
that makes no sense.
And what the African Guna said is what I think that they'll do. We don't know actually from Arsenal who's going to stay or go. We don't know whether Reece Nelson's going to be around. We don't know whether Balogun's going to be moved on loan again. We don't know these questions, so we can't answer them now.
All that being said, bro, the question still remains: you can't have intention to only have a 22-man squad. That doesn't make sense.
Tony, it is what
I think it's 23.
This season, where every club in the whole world needs 25 men to be declared at the squad, that we're only going to have 22.
Tony, everybody agrees with you, Tony. Tony, everybody agrees with you. But as an African Gunnar said, which I think is correct, it is 4 players purchased, and then the rest they'll have to make up with the academy. It's just how it's how they've worked it, and we'll have to wait and see what's going on.
Four players purchased, but that's not considering if we sell all those other players and we need to fill those gaps. There's
That's
still
correct.
players on top of that. Yeah.
Yeah, Bernd Leno, the Maitland-Niles, quite a few players.
Nelson,
I'm sorry.
etc.
I'm still baffled, brother.
I know,
because
Tony, but
if
please
you
let's get
sell-
on to Vincey. Vincey's been there for 10 minutes, and we ain't even said hello to him. Vincey, first of all, hey, how are you doing? Secondly, what's your thoughts on the new signing?
Hey, what's going on, family? I'm all good, man.
Oh, you're really low.
You're
We
mute.
can't hear you.
Tony, you could take my time, man. I can listen to you, man.
Yeah, Vince, can you speak up or come closer to the mic?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better now. Yeah.
I've got a really bad throat, guys. So
Oh, okay.
yeah. Tony, you can continue talking, man. I was quite intrigued listening to what you were saying because I think it needs to be discussed. I think at the end of the day, they're gonna feel whatever they're gonna feel. We want 25. We should have 25. But
It's too early.
at the end of the day, I don't have the energy right now.
Yeah, and it's too early as well, Vincey. When we get to August,
it's not so much too early. I just don't have the energy because based on what's happened in January and how the season ended, I just don't have the energy right now. So at the end of the day, I'm going to allow them to get the players they need to get in, and we'll take it from where it is there because I just don't have the energy because it makes no sense right now to even fathom that actually you can go with 22. I say get what you need to get in, and if it's 25, go for the 25. But as I say,
what's your thoughts on the new signing?
First of all, I thought he looks like a fit Wilshere, and then I watched a little bit more, and I thought maybe he looks like a fake, a fake Cazorla, because he's 2-footed, and I smiles. But then I looked and I thought, there's glimpses of Cazorla in it, but Cazorla was a one-off. I absolutely love and adore that player, and I think when I looked at your comment about Bernardo Silva, I think that type of player kind of hits it in the mold as to how he uses the ball. I saw him take a peach of a shot with his left foot. Now, if he's prepared to swing his left foot like that in games with crosses coming in from Odegaard, or, we could be in for some player. I wonder whether or not Arteta is going to allow him to play that freely on the ball, because a lot of his play looked to me like how Odegaard sometimes plays in that pocket, where he does pirouettes and looks for runners. So he looks to be an intelligent passer of the ball. He's going to require runners. So it's going to be interesting to see how our runners make those advanced positions when he does those crosses, because he's got a vision. If players remain on side, he'll be able to pick them out. He's got a shot. His right foot is quite good, actually. His left foot is a peach. So yeah, kudos to Edu and Arteta for scouting a player like him. Portuguese player. I'm sitting here and thinking, okay, most didn't know anything about Bruno Fernandes when he came and he racked up load of assists. So, if we can get hold of a Portuguese type player who can get assists and actually score goals, we have a player on our books. So no, kudos to them. And as I say, to come up trumps with a player by the name of Vieira says it all for us.
In midfield as well.
Yeah. And let's say hello to Ebony. Ebony, how are you doing? How's your week going? How are you suffering with this heat out there at work? That must be very difficult in your line of work. And what's your thoughts on the new signing?
Good evening, gentlemen. I've not seen him play. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm not going to, moan and groan that we haven't made stellar signings like some Arsenal fans have. I'm just going to give the boy a chance and let him see what he does.
So, guys, let's take a look and see what type of impact he does with that. But before we do that, we'll dive into the comments.
Can I go back to this 25-man squad?
Please, Tony, let's move past it, man.
No,
We've got so much to get through, and we don't want to hammer a nail into the wall where we got so much to get through. But you can because Tony, we can't say anything, and the front office can't do anything until the transfer window is gone, and then they can look at what they've got, and then they'll manage the sort of loans and then the younger players and all of that stuff. So it's too early.
Talk about shooting yourself in the foot, right? The team that used the lowest number of players in the season 2021-22 was West Ham. They used 25 players.
Mm-hmm.
And the Premier League, you have maximum of 25 players in the squad. However, you can sign as many under 21 players as you want. Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Go carry on, but I just
I do understand it, but I don't agree with it. I do understand
if that's what they're planning to do.
Yeah, I do understand they're doing it because they have. Look, I'm gonna have to go back a bit, and we're wasting a bit of time, but I'll cover it. I'll cover it anyway. The last 2 seasons they've made back-to-back year-on losses, mounting about 83 million. Now, those losses were happening for one reason. It's obviously because we know what happened with COVID, but the basic fact, and this is basic, is that their wage high was the 4th highest in the league. So they set out a plan to reduce the actual wage bill, which they've done by 46 million. So they're at a point now where they've looked at how many players do we need to go through the season, and how much money do we make in terms of operating costs to facilitate our budget. So what they've done now is they've looked at it and said, well, with our gate money and with the amount of money that we're making elsewhere, we've covered that operating cost to the point where now, because we've saved 46 million, we won't incur those year-on-year losses. So I do understand why it's happening, but a lot of that has got to do with a lot of wastage, not really your wage bill per se. The amount of players that were eating out the actual wage bill who weren't doing nothing. And everyone can talk about Aubameyang and all those other players, Lacazette, 180 grand. But you're looking at somebody like Bernd Leno, who was on 100 grand a week, who barely played this season. Yeah. So those are the little things and challenges that they had to deal with. Now they've gone into a season where that's manageable. That they've kind of hit their targets in that regard. But I do agree with what you're saying. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think you need as much players. My reasons are probably different from yours. It's because we've allowed 5 substitutes now. You're going to be able to tactically do more things in the game and change the face of the game. Now you can look at things and bring on 4 players and then sort of save 1 in reserve for an injury. Rather than previously before, you could make 2 changes in around 60, 70 minutes. And you wouldn't do 3, because if you did 3, and then a player got injured in the 80th, you'd be running around with 10 men and 1 guy hopping and just making his injury worse. So I like the fact that that's happened. But for me, tactically, because of the 5 substitution rule, you need 25 players, period. That's it. Because teams are going to start to build up a tactical advantage in that regard. So, let's go through to Daniel. Daniel says, actually, I think he made a comment before that. And big shout out to you, Daniel. I actually work with him as well. One of the guys I work with. Wasn't Vieira stats something like 60? Yes, it was. And we're going to come onto that in the sheet that I've got pulled up. It's remarkable that he basically averaged an assist every other game. It's crazy.
Tony, in terms of what we were chatting about, it's 22 outfield players and 3 goalkeepers. Yeah, that makes your 25.
I'm not sure if that's the statement that Apollo made.
Yeah, that is the statement. Yeah. That is what Arteta said. That's his ideal statement, is that he wanted 3 goalkeepers, 22 outfield players.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah.
That's not saying I want a 22-man squad.
No, yeah,
That's
no.
saying I want
think,
a 25-man
yeah, it was a misinterpretation.
Squad. Right.
The 22 is outfield players, 3 plus 3 keepers.
Let's kill that then, because that.
Okay, CJ said bang average signing. Kuke said, what's going on? 18 said, loving it, guys. CJ said, it reminds me of Lokonga last year. Lokonga didn't have 16 assists and 7 goals when he was playing for... Yeah. How does he remind you of Lokonga? Send me a message that down below how he reminds you of Lokonga. Daniel says, Vieira, he's already made up a song for him. Can't support your good place. So, you know what? He's just got that surname. That name Vieira, people are going to love that. Mally says 22 outfield players, 3 goalkeepers. We've congratulations, guys. We've actually got Facebook working for the first time in about 4 months. So I don't know who that is on Facebook. We can try and have a look. But he says, nobody saw this coming. I don't know this player. Hope it turns out to be a gem. This may be a smart move by Arteta in showing the other clubs that we are not going to pay exuberant amounts of sums of money for overpriced players. And I think that that's what it was. Today, in my transfer update, I talked about the likes of Nkunku. I talked about Osimhen and Alexander Isak and all them players. And you're now talking 6 figures now for a striker. And it's just bonkers. Any team would be foolish enough to go out there and buy any one of those players because you don't know what you're buying. That's the truth. You know, yes, they've scored 17, 18 goals last season, but coming into a new league with a new environment, new players, different styles of different leagues, spending that kind of money. I mean, it's frustrating, isn't it? You have a guy like Jack Grealish, goes to Man City, scores 2 goals. Everybody said he did well for 100 million. And then Pepe is averaging 13 goals a season, cost 72 million, and people said he was a flop. I mean, like, that's the kind of world we're living in, guys. Where Grealish, for doing really nothing at all for 100 million, he somehow managed to make it work in that team, and they said it's a great signing, but yet Pepe's a flop. I can't make sense of it. Daniel says, Guendouzi, Torreira, Nelson, Maitland-Niles, Murray. Yeah, there is plenty to sort out. And as I said, I mean, that's going to sort of go to and from. Miley says, Arteta is looking for passing abilities like De Bruyne. Yeah, and you just fill that whole line with creative players and players who can score as well. Let's not forget the guy scored 7 goals. Bertrand says, Apollo, what they need is people who understands finance. They are financially incompetent. Well, we'll see about that, Bertram. If you heard what I talked about in terms of the wage bill, we'll have a look and see how that works out if the team is going to be incurring losses as well. Rob says, very true. And then someone else says, great point. I don't know who these people are because they haven't signed the waiver. And then Bertrand says, Arsenal spends a lot of money. They just not spend wisely. Well, this was a wise purchase, Bertram. So today, Arsenal have spent 29 million and 45 million. So they've spent 74 million on a player like Vieira and Gabriel Jesus. I think that that's smart. Let me know what your thoughts on that is, Bertram. Rob says the signing makes sense. And he also says he plays, yeah, I compared him to Bernardo Silva as well. One of you guys also here compared him to Bernardo Silva. Who was it?
Yeah, I said that he, after watching, first it was Wiltshire, then I thought Cazorla, but Cazorla does do justice. It's definitely when you got Silva.
Okay, so guys,
Ebony's television is on.
Oh, all right, Ebony, can you turn that down a little bit? Right, guys, so let's have a look at the state of play with our midfield. As you guys know, I've been working with this data for quite a bit. Let me get rid of this, and then I can save it. And let me. I was going to show 2, but instead I'm going to show 1. I did have one that I had without Vieira, the new signing, and one with him. But I'm just going to show the one with him, and we'll try and play the numbers with that around. So, guys, I hope you can see this picture here. I did this last week. What it was is realistically looking at the options that we have in the midfield and how it's going to change our team. The first category here, very important, because it's the amount of appearances that the player has had. We've seen now that Neves has had 31 starts and 2 from the bench. Tielemans, 29 starts and 3 from the bench. The next player that we have on that regard from Arsenal is Xhaka, who started 27 games. He never came off the bench once. remember we're talking about when he came back from injury, he went straight into the team rather than being used elsewhere. But what it does is it correlates to the minutes. The minutes is very important as well. But let's dive straight into the who was the best at this point and how did it work out overall. So in terms of the goals, the top target here is actually Tielemans with 6 goals, and then Neves with 4. Vieira, the new signing, it's got 6 here because the other goal was in a cup competition. So you can see straight away here now in terms of how it relates. Tielemans is a very adept player offensively, and his assist speaks volumes as well. So Tielemans was involved in 10 goals. Neves was involved in 6 goals. Bissouma only 3, which is the same as Xhaka and the same as Partey. And again, El Nene 2 assists, but we know El Nene is barely played. And that's the reason why we have the brackets, because the brackets are per 90 minutes. So it's sort of more of a fair assessment. But again, guys, 16 assists for Vieira. 2 of them were in the cup game. So I've only done this in the league. So it doesn't have cups in there. But it shows you that our new signing was involved in 20 goals. And that's he's got double the amount of input. And he's played half of the games that Tielemans played in. Half.
I can hear Bertram's brain ticking away saying Bush League, Bush League, Bush League.
Yeah, I don't buy. He played in Benfica. If you look at what they've done in Europe, their teams have been pretty good actually, especially
But
when
your
we've come up
stats are
against
not
them.
Europe. Your stats are
All right, yeah, let's not do that, Tony. It took me a long time to get through these stats. We're just looking at the players.
I get it.
We don't.
I just want to be realistic and say you're looking at a player who plays in the Premier League against a player who plays in a Bush League, and making a comparison.
And who's that? Who plays in the Bush League?
Vieira, obviously.
Yeah, I know. But as I said, I just remember I made this list without him in it. I just added him about an hour ago.
Yeah.
So really, this was to look at all the other options. I'm just adding him in now because, as you can see, I haven't even completed the last 2 because we had to start the stream at 9 o'clock, so I didn't even have the time to add him in.
Can I just ask? I know you've said midfielders, but I would have thought if you're going to add in Vieira, you would have had Odegaard in there as well.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, possibly, but how shall I say? Odegaard
performed last season.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because Odegaard's already the mainstay in the team. He's the captain. All of these names were there for a reason. Partey because he's not a long-term solution. Xhaka because he won't be starting this season. El Nene because is he a starter? Is he not a starter? Tielemans because he's the new signing. Neves, he's the kind of backup plan to Tielemans. Bissouma because everybody from Arsenal wanted Bissouma. So all the names are on this list for a reason, and Odegaard, I didn't see a reason to put him on the list because he's going to be a long-term solution at the club, and we know what he can do as well. The guy's the second most creative player in the Premier League. He's got nothing to prove. This list is for us is all about how are we going to make our midfield work. So
Neves is Ruben Neves from Wolves, right?
Wolves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what impressed me about the first few stats is that how durable Neves was. You know, Neves played in 33 games, by far the most durable out of the bunch. But before I go into the defensive stats, offensively, Tony, what's your thoughts in terms of? Obviously, it's different now because Vieira's in there. He wasn't there before today. But where were you in terms of Tielemans? Where were you in terms of what does this mean for Xhaka? What's your thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, Xhaka for me is the weakest of all those players in that list.
The numbers show it.
I just don't want to see that guy in our team again. But lo and behold, I bet he starts the first game of the season.
I swear. He probably will.
In terms of the rest, I think the numbers are skewed because it really boils down to there's players like you mentioned how creative Odegaard was, but the fact that he had a striker or a set of strikers who weren't doing absolutely anything with the chances he created is obviously affected his position in the stats for the season. Because I'm sure had he had, a Haaland, a Salah, a Mane, or, Ronaldo up front, he would have bagged some stats that would have been off the kilter.
Mm.
In terms of the ones that you're looking at coming in, Tielemans looks all right. You know, I have said it before. He's also a mistake waiting to happen. He is an upgrade on Xhaka, but me personally, I would rather have Ruben Neves because he's a tank to me.
Mm.
Bissouma's stats belie the fact that he's a good player, but I'm glad that he's not coming to Arsenal because the stats tell me he's not productive enough. Vieira, I don't know. I'm with Ebony. Let him come in, let him settle. Let's see what he can do. I don't think he starts, but you know, maybe by halfway through the season, he's impressed enough, and you know, he starts to feel his way into the season because you know people just don't start on fire in the Premier League. It's impossible.
Bruno Fernandes did.
Yeah, he did.
You're right.
He did.
You're right. I don't see him. I don't see Vieira as a Bruno Fernandes. I'm afraid.
Yeah. I agree.
So I mean that's fair enough. African Guna, what's your thoughts on this as well?
Yeah, my thoughts are that I think as we said, Partey not a long-term solution. Too injury prone, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean statistically also not scoring enough goals and assists. So and we've always talked about that we need more creativity, but not only creativity, we need more goals. And for me, Vieira, he takes a lot of shots from outside the box. And we said he's 2-footed. And something we also didn't talk about actually is that he's a leader. He was a captain of Portugal for under 21 team, and he's captained his own team at the age of 22. So yes, you know, that is impressive. And it goes back to the fact that in this DNA that we're looking for in terms of this new Arsenal player, young player, they have to be leaders, right? All these players that we've signed, including, you know, Ramsdale, Odegaard, except they're all leaders. And this guy's a leader too. So I'm happy with that profile. I'm happy with Tielemans. I disagree with Tony. For me, I agree with you. He could be a mistake waiting to happen. But for me, the price that we can get him at is just too good for me to pass up on that. And I think the upgrade on Xhaka, I think he's also way more versatile. So I'd go with him over Neves because I think Neves will be more expensive. And I think Wolves have way more leverage in terms of asking for a higher price for him. And he's also more experienced.
So before I go into Vincey, you might want to elaborate on something because I want you to understand the reason and why I've done this list and why this table stands out for this. This is the table here. You guys can see the figures on the bottom. The figures on the bottom tells us two things. First of all, it tells us who's the most complete midfielder out of this bunch. Secondly, exactly, Tielemans, as you can see, he's number one in 6 categories. Partey's number one in 3 categories, and Bissouma's number one in 3 categories. But what it says is the categories are different. This is a more offensive category. Goals, assists, you can see he dominates. He absolutely dominates in terms of where that situation is. But then the other section is more sort of tackles, interceptions, clearances. It's more of a defensive type of game. So you can see Bissouma is really just nailing that balls out. He's useless offensively. He does nothing for you offensively. But in terms of the defense, in terms of that single pivot, he's outstanding. And that's frightening when you consider he's going to Spurs next season. And then Partey, key passes, blocks, and recoveries. He's dominating that. So you can see there's sort of different phases of this table that tells you who's good at something, who's good at other things, whether it's offensively, defensively, or the all-round game. So this gives us a really good scope in terms of how these players are going to make an impact for Arsenal. And again, I have to stress, the reason why I've done this table is because what I was reading on our forum and what I was seeing on social media and on Twitter was that some Arsenal fans were saying Tielemans can't defend, and Tielemans is only a one-sided. Hold on a second. Tielemans can't defend, and he's only a one-sided player. And judging by this, he actually puts a shift in. And if you look at his blocks, he's made more blocks than anybody on this team. which is actually as close to Thomas Partey in blocks, and it's quite phenomenal. In fact, he's made the same amount of blocks as Thomas Partey. That's exceptional. That's really good. Remember, guys, we're talking about per game, so it doesn't matter that Partey started 23 games and Tielemans started 29. The numbers in brackets are per game, so we can actually break this down to, what they did in the 90 minutes, in per 90 minutes. And it's very important for us to understand that with Tielemans, we are getting a complete player. We are getting a player who's going to gap play. That's where the blocks come in. Blocks are when you see a pass, when you have the vision to see a play developing, and you get in front of that passing lane and break up the play. And we can see that this guy has the ability of Thomas Partey to do that. Very, very important. So if you want to elaborate on that, African Guna, then I'll let you finish off before I go to Vinci.
I was going to say it would be really interesting to throw a pivot table over this to really distinguish, but I think I agree. Different categories. You can see Tielemans is kind of the all-round player across the board, and that's what I was saying in terms of, Tony saying that he can make mistakes. Yeah, he can make mistakes. I also think, we have Tony. We have too many positions to fix. I don't see us spending so much money, 40, 50 million on each of these positions. We know our team is not going to do that. So for me, I'm satisfied. We already signed Vieira. Now let's go sign Tielemans. Then we go and get the striker in Jesus. Then we go, for Aaron Hickey. I think that's advanced 21 million. And then we look at our right wing, left wing. Then we sell all the players we need to sell. Whatever money is left over, then we can decide, if there's anything in the market that we want to go for. And for me, that's a 10 out of 10 window. But yeah, let's see how it develops.
So, Vinci, again.
Oh, sorry, one more thing. Arsenal's advanced with Tielemans. So that's 3 in one day.
Is that official?
Yeah, it's come out in the last 2-3 minutes that in the next 48 hours it might be done.
Yeah, I was told that, which is what I talked about on my stream today. I was told that it should be before mid next week, but I wasn't aware that they had talked about it again. Vinci, very comprehensive list to go through. Let's hear your thoughts on it. What stands out to you with this list? Who are you surprised with, and who's the guy who you thought, I thought he would be a little bit more on?
To be honest, is the first name on the list. I haven't been impressed with Partey. He's come to Arsenal with a huge reputation, and for me, he's not controlling the midfield. He hasn't played enough games due to fitness. But even when he has played, for me, the money we've spent, we need more. This is his 3rd season for me, and I think it needs to be a huge season because you can't command that reputation, you can't command that money and perform the way that you're playing for Arsenal in that midfield. We need more. I think our midfield play is quite sterile. That does go also with the tactics that Arteta likes to play, but he's an experienced member for Arsenal in that midfield. So,
I've got a question for you to answer here from someone in the chat. It says this chart is a disservice to Xhaka. Would you agree?
I don't think it's a disservice to Xhaka because, again, the manager's given him a 4-year contract, but there's no way in his system of play does it allow Xhaka to shine. So I don't see how he's going to be able to stand out in any of these categories because of our style of football. I think Xhaka in himself, he's been functional, but functional in the Premiership over a 38-game season is not enough. And this is why fans are calling out for a player like I've been calling out for Tielemans. And you can see a player like Tielemans in this company stands out. He stands out in more than one category because he's versatile and he's prepared to have a shot. Now, you know, if I believe if Arteta was a bit more adventurous in his tactics and creative in using Xhaka, we'd get more out of Xhaka. But the manager's not prepared to do that. And he's playing him almost in a position where, you know, just looking at these stats, you can almost put in a Bissouma right there and say, do you know what, Bissouma do exactly what Xhaka does, and we will have Partey or even maybe Tillemans in that position pushing forward. But because Xhaka is not good in tackles, you know, he's not comparing him to Bissouma. You know, he's going to lose out. I just wanted to say, I know a lot of people talking about Vieira starting. I personally think he's a direct replacement for Pepe in Arteta's thinking, because in that regards he can switch Saka and Vieira on either flank. We've also got the option of Martinelli there, so he's got options there. But
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Martinelli's gonna start. I think the plan is. This is just my thoughts. I think the plan is to have Gabriel Jesus up top, Rafinha on the right, Saka on the left, and then Odegaard, and then the whole shebang going on behind them. That's what I think he's looking for.
You're bringing in Rafinha from Leeds.
Yeah, I think that's what he's doing, because you're not going to spend 50 million on a player like that and just have him sit behind Saka on the right. It don't make no sense.
I don't see why he would come to Arsenal. That's the only thing. I want him. I would want him. I just don't see why he comes to us out of, you know, with all his options. It just doesn't make any sense for me. But yeah, I need to head out. I have work tomorrow. Thanks, guys, for the chat. Really enjoyed it.
All right, no problem. Thanks for joining us and giving us your thoughts, bro.
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully we get these deals, and the next time we chat, we can talk about it in more detail. But yeah, it looks like Arsenal woke up today, so happy on that note.
Excellent. Cheers. Thanks a lot for that, man.
Cheers,
Love
guys.
to the family as well, yeah?
Yeah, cheers.
Excellent.
Yeah, so yeah, in regards to Vieira, I think he's a Pepe replacement, and he's gonna, as Tony said, he's gonna work his way, and Ebony, he's gonna work his way into the team. Yeah, I mean, just looking at from an attacking point of view, you know, I've always believed Arteta's had options. Is whether or not he chooses to use them. And many times last season he didn't use them. He didn't use Pepe. So, okay, if we've got Vieira now, we've got an option now where he now has to pick and choose how he's going to integrate within the team, and he's going to need time to develop. So again, we're going to have to be patient with that. But we know we have Smith Rowe, we have Martinelli, who can, whether they start or not, they can come in with a run of games and make a difference. If Jesus is going to be the man up top, and we're going to have Nketiah, again, Arteta has options with his formation in how we can match up against certain teams. But yeah, definitely the interesting one for me on this list is for all the fanfare that Partey gets. You know, key passes, blocks, recoveries.
That's impressive.
Well, I'm actually expecting him to stand out more in like interceptions. You know, he's not a big physical presence like that. He's not standing out there. Tackles, he's not standing out there. For all the shooting that he's shooting, he's not on target. So, you know, we have a player, but that player is like he's still under wraps for me. This season, you know what? For me, it needs to be. It has to be a coming out season for him.
Do you know, for me, what's the two most surprising stats on this table? It is the same player, which is Youri Tielemans. The first one is tackles. He is extraordinary. This guy averages 2.3 tackles per game. Now, I'm taking Bissouma out of the discussion because he's not an Arsenal player, never will be. And his number in itself is impressive. Bissouma is just a ball winner. He's a disruptor. But Tielemans' numbers doubles El Nene and Xhaka's. This guy makes double the amount of tackles than Xhaka.
Do you also think the manager?
Sorry, I think that's Vince's mic going again. Yeah, that's better.
Do you not think the manager's tactics allows the players to be a little bit more?
No. I think if you're on the field and you see what's going on, then you should make tackles. It don't matter what.
Let's be fair.
Sorry. Your mic is going all over the place, mate. Your mic is going all over the place. Hold on.
What's it like now?
It's better now. Yeah.
Okay. Let's be fair to players. Arteta does have a rigid structure where players are supposed to be around the field. Brendan Rodgers is a little bit more fluid. So you're going to see more tackles from a Tielemans than you are going to have with a Xhaka. And if you look at Partey, just look at Partey's tackles. You know, he's having to do so much more tackles in an Arsenal midfield than anybody else. So, you know, it's not just about players' attributes. It is also about the way how managers use players and tactics. And I do think that there are two different tactics displayed. Whether they play the same formation, Tielemans is mobile. Yeah. He's more mobile than Partey. He's more mobile than Xhaka. So he's going to get more tackles.
Also, the other one is long passes. He's averaging 2.4 long passes, which is really, I think yeah. That's what's impressive. I've actually made the mistake there. You can see I've given him a tick for passes and actually I've gone through Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey actually averages 3.1 long passes, so that's my mistake. I was in a rush to get this list going for the stream, but you can see that.
So you're saying Partey's got 4?
So Partey's got 4 and Tielemans has got 5. So that's even more impressive for Partey. You can see here Partey long passes 3.1 per game, Tielemans 2.4 per game. All the others, except for Vieira as well, but again, in fact, Partey has the same amount of long passes per game than Vieira per 90 minutes. That's impressive. That's impressive. People talk about Partey, and a lot of those passes go to Odegaard. You remember when I said to you guys about when Partey went out and I said, there goes our combination link play in transition from playing out the back to Partey to Odegaard to the front line. That was gone. When Partey got injured, we never got that back. And you can see from these figures here, Partey was just a destroyer with his passing. Speaks volumes. I'll let you finish up, Vincey, before I go to Ebony.
No, I'm done, man. I'm done. Cheers.
Ebony, what's your thoughts about the state of play? Very telling graph this is. For a lot, it's an eye opener. Very big eye opener here.
We'll put it this way: my mum will be an upgrade for Xhaka. So if you're going to bring in Tielemans in as an upgrade for Xhaka, bring it on. He's a better tackler. Xhaka is not very good at tackling. Every tackle he's made a mistake. You can argue that Tielemans has a mistake in him, but he's actually better in that position than Xhaka will ever be. With regards to Vieira being an upgrade to Partey, that's, for me personally, that's big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I don't think it would be an upgrade to Partey. I think, in terms of what you talked about with Xhaka, I think obviously the Partey is the number 4 role, and then we have the number 6 role, then we have the number 8 role in the midfield. And I think with Vieira is sort of an amalgamation of Xhaka, because Xhaka was playing the pivot, and then he was moved into a more of an advanced role in the number 8. So. Yeah. So even with these stats that we're looking at here, it's not Xhaka's best position, and you know, but even when Xhaka was playing in his proper position the year before, his numbers were pretty much similar, so they haven't changed. But I think, so I think in that respect, Tielemans can really upgrade the position hugely, because we played the last end of the season without a number 8.
Yeah. I mean, But for Partey, I do expect big things from him next season. Yes, he's injury prone. Hopefully this season, he can actually be a lot fitter than he has been. I'm just hoping that the physios can actually, make him well enough to actually last at least half a season, because we've got a player there. We have somebody who can pass. We have somebody who can pick out passes. We have somebody who can cross, and those passes, and those crosses actually land somewhere. So, Neves.
Neves is impressive, man. Neves is impressive.
Yeah.
He's a
I want to see
dog.
more of him, though. I want to see more of him, though. El Nene, we need to keep him, because he has proved in the closing part of the season how good he is.
Yeah,
he's actually been an unsung hero. The passes he's made, the fact that he's actually playing out more, he's not doing the sidewards, backways as much as he used to.
And again, he's averaging more tackles than Xhaka. Yeah.
Exactly, and it just goes to show that he's a better tackler than Xhaka. So, but it remains to be seen. But then also, my thing is this. Sometimes history has shown that that when we've bought players, they've been great, and then as soon as they get into the system, things change. And I want to see somebody like Tielemans play under play under Arteta. I want to see if there's going to be a difference. I want to see if he's going to be the same as he has been.
Because in terms of Vincey's question, as I said last season, a lot of people were talking about manager and tactics, and Arteta was put in a bottle. I mean, he couldn't do a lot of the things that he wanted to do for so many different reasons. He just did not have the players to play how he wanted to play. What I can see this season is him having the players to do what he wants to do. And let me get rid of this list and talk about another subject. Hold on a second. So let me discuss pressing. So just my analysis on pressing and where we are in the game. So there are 4 types of pressing. There's and let me put this up. I better put this up so you guys know what I'm talking about. So this is really me looking at Mikel Arteta last season and the next season, the upcoming season. Now, pressing is part of the game now, and there's 4 different ways how you can press. And Arsenal, unfortunately, are stuck in the worst section, which is this one. It's low volume and low effectivity. So this is teams like Arsenal and Newcastle, West Ham, and obviously Fulham. It's where you have the least amount of pressures, but also when you're pressing, it's ineffective. So you're not winning the ball back as much as you should do. That also means that you don't really get a lot of help from the midfield. So if I talk to you guys normally about pressing the final third, putting pressure on teams playing out of the back, which everyone's doing now, and the midfields, I give you impressive numbers, don't I, about Saka and Odegaard and Eddie Nketiah. But then when I look at the midfield, there's just nothing there. Like, you're not getting anything from the midfield in regards to the press. So this is the bracket, guys, that you don't want to be in. And this is the bracket that Mikel Arteta has been forced to be in because of the lack of talent in the team. He doesn't have the players who can press the way he wants to press effectively, and that is hurting him tactically. And he's had to go a whole season through that. So let's move on to number 2. Number 2
crazy stat
is if you look at teams, Spurs. So if you look at a team like Spurs, it's more about quantity than it is quality. With these teams, they're just producing a high amount of pressures per 90 minutes. And their pressuring is just inconsistent. So we can talk about the other bracket where we're saying they weren't pressing enough. In this bracket, they are pressing. It's just not effective. And what it does is it allows you to get beaten a lot on the counter attack. That happens a lot to Spurs last season, and it's something Conte has to work on tactically. And I'm guessing that that's Bissouma's got a lot to do with that moving forward. But that's the second bracket. That's not where Arsenal are trying to get to. The third bracket is where Arsenal are trying to get to, and it's the best bracket. It's where the champions Man City are. So this is low volume and high effectivity. So these are the smart teams, guys. While they're not putting a lot of pressures on teams, they have a high success rate while applying pressure at the right times. And you remember, if you're winning 1-0 or if you're 2-0 up, then you can change your game accordingly. If you're losing, then it's more of a high-pressure game. But with this, it's more about winning back possession. And we talk about the rondo and hunting like hyenas and wolves. And these teams like Manchester United, Manchester City, Brighton and Wolves, guys, who are both ranked in the top 5 defensively in the Premier League. Doing this shows that you've got the players to do it and that can adapt to doing it brilliantly. And we know that Gabriel Jesus' numbers are number 1 in the league as a striker. Jesus is the best pressing striker in the Premier League. He brings a lot to what Man City have done, and he will bring a lot to what Arteta's doing. If we look at someone like Lacazette, we know where we've been struggling with him. Nketiah is that different type of player. He will pressure the heck out of you, and that's the reason why we've seen that great improvement. But it just goes to show you, when you're in this bracket, you can easily achieve being one of the top defensive teams in the league. The last bracket, and this is easy for you guys, and I'm just going through this so that we can get an understanding before we talk about all of our targets, because my whole point of this is all of the targets and players that Arteta are bringing in will allow him to tactically play the way he wants to play. Not being able to do that because he just hasn't had the right players. So this one is high volume, high effectivity. So you guys will know this was originally brought in by Bielsa from Leeds. It's all about throwing hell for leather. Liverpool plays this way as well under Klopp. It's about just applying as much pressure as you can to win games. And these obviously, guys, are the fittest teams in the league. So I just really wanted to cover that before we talked about the transfer targets and Gabriel Jesus. So you can see with these bodies that Arteta's bringing in, we saw Gabriel Jesus' figures, number 1 pressing forward line player in the league. Martin Odegaard at Arsenal has won the ball more than any other player in the final third. Best pressing on the top line. Saka isn't far behind, guys. Tielemans from the midfield, we've seen his tackles. Best pressing player in Leicester City. So I'm starting to paint the picture for you guys to see that what Arteta's going to bring next season is he's trying to move out of that bracket, which is the worst, among the worst pressing teams in the league, to a team that is really adept at doing it. Tony, what's your thoughts?
Sounds like the Miami Dolphins.
It's all about that front four, baby. It's all about that front four.
And anybody who knows what has happened in the last month with the Miami Dolphins will be able to tell you that, like, literally, we've gone from the worst O-line in the league with little to no weapons for our quarterback to having a decent O-line and 4 of the best weapons man could possibly acquire on the face of the earth. But yeah, look, I'm optimistic. I have to be optimistic because, you know, Arteta has the deal now. He's in charge for a number of years. I can only be positive and hope that he gets it right, because I personally don't think I could stand for another year of failure. And it's not that I should be disappointed with the failure, because it's actually greater. The failure was greater than that which I was expecting. But I wasn't looking top 4, but now I am, because everything you've said points to the fact that he's pussied about and done what he's done and left man out and sold the bad eggs in the basket and got rid of all the players that he didn't buy, and now he can't have no excuse. Yeah? So
Tony, can I just
you
can I
can't
just
come
ask?
to me at the end of the season and say, oh, it's because he didn't have his players. So now you've got your players, and the expectation is nothing short of top 4. Simple. So when you
Tony,
do
what was
your
the
season-
failure? What did you say the failure was? You just said failure. What specific was the failure in your mind?
So top 4 was pretty much there for the taking,
Okay.
and he failed.
Okay.
And when one looks at the reason for that, one can only assume that if you had chosen to keep certain players and play other players that could have helped the team, you'd have done better. If you didn't persist with the foolishness of playing a man who couldn't score a goal for love nor money, you could have secured the bag and got the top 4. But let's pass on that, because apparently he didn't have his players. So I'm gonna allow that, and I'm gonna go past that and say that's my manager, because he is. He's my manager, and I have to give him full support. You know, in a year that I'm in and ahhing about him, I still supported the team. I still turned up at the stadium and cheered and shouted my heart out. And I got moments of pleasure and I got moments of pain. And at the end of the day, it is what it is. But I've got to support the guy for the next season. And my wish is that now he's got his players, and he can't come back and say, "Oh, but that wasn't my player."
Oh no,
Because
it's his team now. It's his team.
done.
And it's
So-
not just his team.
so-
It's Edu's team, because Edu's the guy that brings
Right. So
finds
the
the players.
expectation for this season is one place higher than he finished last season.
So before I go to Vincey, let's say here, Rob is saying, Hickey, I'd give Tavares another chance. That's one thing that I think the last section I'm going to do with this stream, we'll talk about the polls from you guys. I did talk about the loan thing there, so we'll cover that there. There's this, it might be Richard. It says Arteta's do or die. Yeah, it is Richard, because G says, I agree, Richard, do or die season for Arteta. Rob is saying, remember, Torreira's coming back. Yeah, I don't think he's coming back to play. I think that they'll move him on. I think another team will buy him, or worst case scenario is he'll go on loan in his final year, which would just be dreadful. And yeah, absolutely dreadful. I don't know who this is. It might be Richard again. Says, if Martinelli is not going to get adequate game time, please put in that on loan. I don't think we can. I think if you're going to set up the way I think we are, with Rafinha on the right and Saka on the left, then I think that Martinelli's going to have to play a part elsewhere and a backup on the left as well. He'll get his games. We got plenty more games, League Cup, Europa League, and all that stuff. So Martinelli's going to play. 18 says, Apollo breaking down the science. And Naomi says, yes, Tony. Tony's gotten a lot of support. I know Tony has, but Tony is frustrated. We share his frustration, but there ain't nothing we can do about some of those things now. We got to, first of all, guys, let go last year. It's gone, it's done. We can't change the past. And then as for this summer, I'm taking a stance with Tony. I'm going to not get too stressed out about transfers. I'm just going to wait. When they drop, we'll talk about them. I know I cover the show because I get a lot of news from the training ground from London Coney, but I'm not going to go mad on it because I've seen some bare madness on social media, and I'm just like, really, guys? And we just have to be patient with this. This is a really horrible process and time of the year for YouTuber and the media, for press guys, because transfers are just so volatile, and we go crazy, we go mental as Arsenal fans.
Can I just say a big shout out to my guy, Jigesh Patel. He's on the Facebook chat. He says, nobody expected us to finish where we did last year. Plenty of reasons to be excited. I get rid of the players with the wrong attitude and didn't buy into the process. And he agrees top 4 is a must.
Excellent. Kuke says, because I think Jesus and Nketiah are quite similar players. They are. You don't necessarily need to have a standout traits if you're very good in most things, which Nketiah could be in the future. G, good to have you, G, back. G put a post up there saying, dudes, you're back. Or here it is. It said, dudes, you're back. Yeah, sorry, listen, Facebook ain't been working for not much I could do, bro. I sent them, you know how much letters I've sent Facebook? About 9 letters. and finally someone switched on the button this morning. So I don't know what's going on. He says City and Liverpool are at the top of the league for headed goals with short players up front. Do you really need a big guy up front these days when you're playing out the back and spamming in short crosses from that kind of area? Actually, I've never heard it put that way before. Great to get this important signing before July. This is key first 11 signing, and thankfully we got a player we wanted because all the other options are not inspiring. Yeah, and they're foolish. Seriously, I do not want to see another Pepe situation. I like Pepe as a player. I love him. But when you get to the situations where he doesn't fit the system, then that's your fault because you've gone out and you bought a talented player. You've wasted his time. You've wasted our time. That's 2 years out of his, and he's done really well in those years. But you've wasted literally, and he's in his prime. He's 26 years old. He will go and help another team. I don't care who that team is. He will step into any team and he will light it up. But the problem is that he's just not suited for what Arteta wants to do here. Jerome says, shout out to 101. Big up to you, my friend. Big up to you. We talked about that one before. Kuke says, Jesus is as good as it gets for us. We can't afford to mess this one up. No, he's as far as Africa and Kuna just quoted, and I just saw it now, the agreement has been accepted by Man City. So he is he's an Arsenal player. There's nothing that can go wrong from here. And no, there's the biggest fear for me was Chelsea and Juventus had joined the actual dealings and what was going on. And I think that's the reason why Arsenal just said enough is enough. We're not going to sit around and watch another team snatch this from our hands when we're so close, because he's already agreed the personal terms. So I think that this is where somebody from head I don't know whether it's Edu or Josh or Vinay, they've just said to Richard Garlick, remember Richard Garlick is the chief negotiation officer. He's the guy that deals with the negotiating on the amounts and the salaries. And someone just said to Richard, I don't care, get this done. I want it done today. And it's done. So it's one of those things. But I do agree with you. Then he says, I think Eddie has shown he has the Premier League standard. Of course he has. Was that ever in doubt? Can someone actually tell me whether it was a doubt that Eddie was not a Premier League standard player? It says he's the first real run of games. He has shown what he's about. I think he can get the most minutes he's ever had next season and bag 15 goals. I agree. Let's go to Vincey. I think his mic is he still? Yeah.
Yeah, I just.
By the way, Vincey, we were talking about the effectiveness of pressing and how all of these players that are coming in are able to create the game the manager tactically wants to play, because of previously we know what he's been doing with the setup and the team and everything.
I'm going to put a pin on those stats that you brought up there, because I think Arsenal have a problem, and I think it was exposed with Unai Emery when he went on his 23-match unbeaten run. When we tried to play our fast-paced pressing, we suffered in areas. So when we look at the high velocity pressing and we're thinking, okay, yeah, we want Jesus to press. Okay, the guys behind them, when they press, we leave space behind them. And the intelligent teams exploit that. So then I look to the players behind our attacking line and how good are they in man marking, tracking. And then that brings into question our defenders and how mobile they are and how they track. And I think that is where Arteta's going to have to be careful, because we can get picked apart quite easy, especially with a player like Xhaka in there. He's been seen before. So he's going to have to we're going to have to be quite patient with this high velocity, high pressing, that we're going to think, okay, we're going to get Jesus with all his stats at Man City. We've got to remember he's got a system behind who are disciplined, that's allowed Jesus to have that mobility to play. He comes and does that at Arsenal, we're going to get violated if we're not organised behind him, and that's something that Arteta is going to have. I think it's going to be a season where he's going to really have to work that out, because he's getting new players in. It's not going to be automatic. It's just not going to be automatic. And I've seen enough of Arteta to be frustrated in that department. So I'm going to give him a.
So I just want to say one thing to you. I just got one question. You're saying it's not going to be automatic, but Gabriel Jesus is coming into the same system as the best pressing forward in the league. There's not a different system. It's the system that Arteta's running.
Okay, when you say system, it requires players to make that system functional. Okay,
That's
so
what
when I'm saying function, we look at Jesus's stats. Okay, and what I always think about as a striker when I used to play, and I remember Ruud Gullit saying, he does not want his strikers running around like madmen and then not being able to have enough energy to put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah, we've got to be organised. So, and I've seen Arsenal try to play that high press before, and we get picked apart. So I think this is going to be a very testing season for Arteta to get that balance, right? I
think I understand what you're saying, because when I talked about our problems, it wasn't mainly from the front, especially when Eddie came into the team. I thought Martinelli and we already know how good Odegaard is. We know how good Saka is at pressing, and we know how good Eddie is at pressing. But the problem is when teams beat that trap, your midfield's doing nothing. Your midfield's not helping you. When they say you press as a team, that's exactly where Arsenal's problem is. They don't press as a team. So,
and I don't think we have the play. You know, you put stats up there with Partey. I don't think Partey's the best presser. You know, he's the man that we're looking in the midfield, but I still don't think he's the best presser for Arsenal. So when we stretched, Partey looks like an old man. You think Partey and Xhaka in midfield, at times those two get really violated in midfield. So this is what I'm saying. It's like, I don't think it's going to be automatic. I think it's going to be something where, I mean, just looking at the fixtures, I mean, we've got a great 10-game start.
I know.
Absolutely great 10-game start. But it would be nice for him to hit the ground running. But I think that's an area where by the end of the season, I'd like to think he's got a good grasp on that. But I do think it's going to be a work in progress, because I'm also looking at our centre-backs and how they play when they haven't been pulled apart, because teams can exploit us. You know, because Arteta's been very rigid in his structure, has allowed our defense to not concede as many goals. But all it takes is for us to be pulled apart, and then we become opened up. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen, you know?
Excellent. And what about you, Ebony? Before Ebony, I've got some good news for you. This has been a blessed day, guys. So before we go to Ebony, let's just run down today. So today, Arsenal have bagged their first official transfer, which is Fabio Vieira. Brilliant name, fantastic player, 22 years old, the right age, the right composition, just effective in what he does. He's only played 15 games and he's had a hand in 20 goals. I mean, it's ridiculous how gifted this guy is, and what Arteta has to work with. Gabriel Jesus, Man City and Arsenal have finalised on the fee and agreed a fee of 45 million. So that is happening. Tielemans, what we're told, is going to be done by mid next week. And I've just had a text from Colin saying to me that Nketiah is meeting the team on Tuesday to sign his contract. So Nketiah's contract will be signed. There's no problems with the issue now. He has agreed it will be signed early next week. Ebony.
Right. Well, bearing in mind that those 4 players have practically signed, that is good news, particularly Nketiah. And you know me already, I've been saying it, I said it all last season when everybody was disrespecting him. Oh, he's this, he's that, he's not Premiership quality. I said to people, let him play and you will know what he is about. I said it time and time again.
Yeah, you did.
And nobody wanted to listen. It's like other YouTubers were disrespecting Eddie.
Everybody was. I
And,
remember.
and all you need to do, look, Eddie Nketiah is a goal scorer. All right, he may not score every single game, and I don't expect him to score every single game. And the age that he is, 22, 23, I expect him to make mistakes. He's still a young player. All right, I mean, if you're older, if you're old enough and all that, but he's going to make mistakes. He's not going to score every single goal. He's going to miss some chances, but that is a striker. Strikers do that. And I've been crying out when Lacazette wasn't even, was missing open doors. I said, bring on Eddie Nketiah. And what happens? What happens when the manager actually listens? What happens when the manager actually starts coming to senses? So I'm glad that Nketiah is signing a new contract. Many Arsenal fans aren't happy, but I am, because I know what he's about. We know what he can do. As for Jesus, if he can create the magic that he did with Man City.
Sorry, Ebony. Before you talk about Jesus, Kuke says, Ebony, how was no one close to the team unable to judge how good Eddie actually was? I find that bonkers.
Yeah, but you saw what he can do when he came in. From the bench, and he was a substitute.
Yeah, but the season before, when he took Lacazette's job, he was fantastic.
Exactly. So I mean, like, come on, seriously.
We have to keep it real and just say the manager didn't believe in him. Just
exactly.
It's just like, say how it is, man. He just blatantly did not believe in him.
Exactly. It's. Look, Arteta, it's not difficult to see that Arteta has his favourite players. One of them being Xhaka. Yeah. Okay? Obviously, Eddie wasn't his favourite player, and he preferred Lacazette over him. But as soon as he brought him in, you saw what he does. When he went on loan, he was Leeds' best player. What does that tell you?
Yeah. If
Jesus can produce the magic that he has done with Man City, then we've got two potential strikers that can actually work hand in hand. Who else is there? As I said before, Vieira, I've not seen him play. Yes, he might have scored 15 goals in 20 games, but can he do it in the Premier League? That remains to be seen. So I'm not going to get too hyped up on Vieira until I've actually seen him play, until I see him play one of the big six. And who else was there?
Tielemans.
Well, we know what he can do already. I mean, like, if like I said, Tielemans was great at Leicester. His tackles were great. But, can Arteta coach him to the ability that he was at Leicester? That also remains to be seen. So, going forward, me already in optimism. I'm always trying to, not even trying, I'm always optimistic. But, with the team that he's got, and as everybody else says, he's got his players now. So let's see there's no excuses. He can't hide behind any parapets. Let's see what system he plays. Let's see the tactics. Let's see what happens now that Arteta has his team.
So, guys, we come up to the end of our stream now. So let's talk about the polls from you guys that I've been setting out every week. Now, let's get everybody's feedback on where their hearts and minds are in the polls. And by the way, guys, if you haven't hit that like button, please hit the like button on this video. So the first poll we're tackling is, if Man City doesn't move away from their 50 million price tag from Gabriel Jesus, do you walk away? I can't be this. Like, what are you guys on, man? 47% of you said yes, walk away. He has a year left. Are you mad?
That doesn't surprise me.
Look at Tony. I said Tony want to punch somebody right now.
I clicked no, just pay the money. I was part of the 39%.
Oh God. Guys, what planet are we on, man? Man is saying walk away
Hell no.
from a guy who can
maybe those
change your
fans were
whole
trying to
front
save the
line
club.
dynamic.
I think maybe those fans are trying to save the club some money. They were trying to be an accountant.
I can't be. But what's funny, Vincey, is every other striker out there, Nkunku, Osimhen, Isak, every other striker out there is Skamaka is going to cost you closer to 1,800 million. You got the opportunity to bag this guy in for 45, 50 million. It's bonkers. He's 25 years old. He's just come off the back of back-to-back league titles. It's bonkers, mate. I'm not even going to go. Guys, what do you think of that?
Well, the second one.
Yeah, the second one is actually which
I
striker?
think they redeemed themselves on the second one, so I think they want him, but not at that money. That's basically what they're saying.
Hey, Tony, 137 votes, not a single one went for Richarlison.
Waste, man.
Is that
because it doesn't bleach his hair red? That's why.
Unbelievable. Let's get rid of this. Next one. Let's put this one up on there. Next one is what you guys are talking about now. This is which is the best midfielder option for next season. So we really talked about that on our list, didn't we? You guys said Tielemans, he's a game changer. 54% of you said that. So that pretty much is where everybody is. Is there any one of you guys that don't think Tielemans is the right guy for our midfield next season?
I think he is.
I've always wanted Tielemans only because he would fit into Arteta's system the best way. There are better midfielders out there than Tielemans, but the system that Arteta plays, he kind of is the better upgrade. On one sense, he's the better upgrade for Xhaka, but then he's also an upgrade for Partey. So if Partey's not playing, we can rely on Tielemans going box to box. You stop and you think, all right, El Nene, come in and do a shift. Well, I can still think El Nene and Tielemans could do a shift. So he's a very versatile guy who can play in midfield.
And I think the most important thing about that is sometimes you look at a player in a team and you think to yourself, and we can talk about Ruben Neves here, and he has Jimenez in front. They don't really have that much creative players in there. I know they got Neto. Neto, I think, is a really quality player. But with Tielemans, he's got his creator number 10 in James Maddison, and he's got Vardy as his goal scorer. So much is going on that side of the field that you're allowed to go and get your 6 goals and 4 assists. You're allowed to do that because everyone else is doing their part in the team. So when you come into Arsenal and you've got an Odegaard who's pulling the strings, and you've got a guy like Jesus who's scoring, Saka scoring, it allows you to play your game. So I think that it blends really well with what we're doing. Lacazette has left the club after 5 seasons. How would you rate his time at Arsenal out of 10?
Average.
Now, 65% of fans said they'd rate him 5 to 6 out of 10 average with so-so goals. 15% said 7 to 8 out of 10 good. He was player of the season. 12% said poor, never reached 20 goals. 5% said excellent and our best player. And 3% said we never should have bought him. Tony?
I'm sticking between poor and average.
Okay. I can see where you're going with that.
I mean,
did get player of the season though, Tony. 18 goals, 11 assists.
There are points where you can go, he had a great game against Spurs and he mashed them up, and he had a great game against Leicester and he mashed them up, but he never did it for a season. And
60 million, Tony.
Even, yeah, exactly. And even the year that he was player of the season, it wasn't like you lit the Premier League on fire. You was the best of a bad bunch.
What about you, Vincey? Vincey, let me remind you before you answer that his market value was only 35 million when we went off after him, and Leon just took us to town because we were so desperate. If you remember, we were trying to get rid of Walcott and Giroud. We were entering the semi-final of the Europa Cup with Atletico Madrid, which we lost, and he played in those. Those were the first games he played in. So we were desperate. We were absolutely desperate. Ended up paying 20 million over his market value. Success for you, Vincey?
I was one of the 3% and said that we never should have bought him. I remember David Musk raving on at the time, saying, you know what, for God's sake, just get him, because he was banging in goals. But I think that started the problem where Arsenal lacked vision of how you're going to build a team, because you buy a guy like him, yes, he's scoring goals, and kind of struggled. You know, even though he got player of the season, at times he was taking a lot of chances to score goals, and he never really fitted into that striker position. And I'm looking at thinking, at that amount of money, we rave right now and think, you know what, Pepe is a lot of money, not productive. I'm looking at as a striker, and he's been at the club for this period of time. I don't know what we've done with him, to be honest.
Vincey, we got rid of Giroud and replaced him with a 60 million striker, and he could never replace Giroud in the French team. And Giroud went on to win 3 trophies.
And this is why I look and I just think some of the things we do is not just because, yes, he can strike a ball. Yes, he knows where the goal is. But playing Premiership football is a different beast. And playing for Arsenal, you stop and you think, look at Wrighty. Yeah. Ori learned off Wrighty. So Lacazette comes in, he's a short guy. What have you done, man? You're not hitting the back of the net. Never should have bought him.
Yeah.
Never.
Ebony.
When he first came, I thought he was a 9 to 10, but over the last 3 seasons, he was actually average. I mean, how many times has he missed the open net? I mean, there's been games where he hadn't last 90 minutes, and I don't know whether that was because he was unfit or he was just tired or he just wasn't able to fulfill 90 minutes. And
Ebony, I remember reporting on Eddie Nketiah's first game and comparing the stats, and I showed you guys that in Lacazette's last game, he had 8 touches in that game. 8.
Yeah.
And Nketiah came in, he had 37 touches in his first game. In that game at Chelsea, which he got man of the match, Nketiah had 57 touches.
Yeah. But look at the end product. Look at the end product between Nketiah and Lacazette. How many times has Lacazette missed open chances?
So this is our last one, guys. This is our last one. Tony, 2 here. PSG have parted ways with Pochettino. And by the way, I put this on the forum today. It didn't go down very well. Pochettino, decision confirmed at last meeting is mutual. Now finalizing an exit. If Arteta fails this season, would you take him next season? And the second question, Tony, is what do you do with Tavares? Send him out on loan, keep him and develop him in-house. Now, 65% of Arsenal fans said send him out on loan. 24 said keep him and develop him in-house because we got all those cup games and Europa League. 10% said sell him. I can't believe 10% of us said sell him. That's crazy. You ain't even developed the guy yet. He's been here a year. That's bonkers. Shame on you guys who were out there who said that. With the top, Tony, it's 52% said, no, I don't want ex-Spurs managers. Tony.
So all the people that said, I don't want ex-Spurs managers, would you say I don't want ex-Spurs players when we bought their greatest player, Sol Campbell, and he went on to become an Arsenal legend? Foolery!
Also, Tony, would you take Conte?
Of course I would.
So there you go then.
Of course. What? You'd have to be a clowning idiot if you said, oh, could we go and nab Harry Kane or Heung-min Son? Are you mad? Of course I would take them, man. Young fools.
Fincy. Oh, and what about the bottom one, Tony? What about Tavares? What would you do?
Tavares, I'd send him out on loan, get him some minutes. He needs minutes. I think with the numbers that we potentially have, if I'm counting Torreira coming back, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I don't know what the hell they're going to do with him, but it looks like we have a congestion in centre mid with Partey, Elneny, Xhaka, Torreira, and Tielemans. So I can't see how Tavares gets the time. I'm thinking of Lokonga, ain't I? I'm thinking the wrong player. I'm talking about
because if
Lokonga.
you take Tavares out, then you're back to the problem of not having any cover for.
Yeah,
Tierney.
no. I think we have to keep him. I'm thinking Lokonga. Sorry, my bad. Tavares is got to be kept because you haven't got another left back. I mean, you can move things. You could play Tomiyasu across there, but you know, we all know Tomiyasu is dynamite on the right, and if you can play him and keep him there, I think we just have to keep Tavares and hope that he can develop in house.
Vincey.
I'd love to play football with Tavares because I believe there's a player in there, man. I seriously do. You got to keep him and develop him in the house. The problem is I don't think Arteta's the coach that will develop him in house, which is sad to say because that's what I kind of expected him to end up being. Tavares is sorry?
He did say that you've got to keep on going with his development. Remember when everybody was saying drop him, and Arteta played him, and actually he played really well against West Ham. And Arteta came out and said, he's our player. We bought him, and we know what we have to develop, and we're going to develop him.
But what I don't like is I looked in some of those games where he was hauled off the pitch. And there were some players that quite easily could have been hauled off just before him. And he didn't. And his confidence, he has not looked the same player since that stretch. Now, that's huge for a young player because I'm looking and thinking, okay, so how are you going to develop him next season? And are you going to do the same things in hauling him off? Because he needs games. He needs confidence. He can play. He showed he can add to the game. He's raw, but there's a player in there.
There is, and I agree with you. It's twofold, though, my answer on that one. One, when he played in that stretch of 7 games, he was phenomenal. And Tierney couldn't get back into the team. And then I think this is with all of the young players, and it's been said many times on this podcast, when you don't play for months and you come in cold, it's tough. These players haven't performed, and it's happened all around the league. And when you look at someone like him, he has played. He played in 3 league. He started 3 League Cup games, and he started 13 Premier League games, and came on as a sub in 9 games. So overall in the Premier League, he played in 22 games, started 13. So he played a hell of a lot. I don't think he realised how much he was going to play. if you understand the Kieran Tierney factor. So I do agree with you. I'm 100% with you on that. And that's the reason why I keep him. I'm keeping him in the team. There's a player in there. Let's develop him. And let's try and take care of the mental side, because that's where he lost it, on the mental side. And by the way, guys...
Can I just say, in relation to Tavares, clearly Tierney can't play a whole season. So you have to play him.
Yes.
You know, there is a necessity to play him in games and give Tierney rest. I wouldn't play Tierney more than once a week. And we're in a season that we're playing twice a week, every week. So
I think you rotate now, because you weren't rotating last season. Yeah. Even when you had the option to rotate, you didn't rotate.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I thought Arteta got really, really wrong last year. When you had the ability to do it, you didn't do it. And then when you did it, it was almost like you was forced into doing it. So let's see a little bit of where you're taking care of the players a little bit more, and you don't have a situation where, because if you rotated players initially, by the latter part, when you had nothing out of Smith Rowe, nothing out of Saka, nothing out of Martinelli, maybe those players would have been fresher had you taken care of them at the beginning of the season. But that's all in hindsight.
Would you say that, and is it possible that Tony Adams or even Mertesacker gets at any chance to play with Lokonga, so they can help him in his positioning and tracking? Because the guy's got legs. That's what he needs to work on from a defensive.
Do you mean Tavares or Lokonga? Because you said Lokonga.
Tavares.
Yeah, I mean, I would get Lee Dixon in there and help this guy out. I mean, we need to do more of that. We need to, and I understand some of the coaches might not take it very well. Some of the coaches might think it's stepping over their heads. I do get that. But there's something to be said about getting legends back into the club. We've seen it work with Robert Perez. We've seen Henry come in and do it, where he
bring
took
back the back.
Yeah, he took Theo Walcott underneath his wing and actually made Walcott a better player. So there's something that can be said about that. But with Arteta's coaching staff, and I'm talking about as well about what's his name, headphones, Albert. Yeah, I can see a lot of those players don't take too lightly to, and this is coming from Per Mertesacker. It's coming from the horse's mouth. They don't take too lightly to veteran players coming in and destabilizing their coaching methods. So I get it, but for me, I think that we need to have more guidance from those players who did a good job here, just because that's our history, and that's what's made us a good team and successful. So yeah,
so are you saying that if given the opportunity to bring in some legends to help coach some of our kids, Arteta's team are saying thanks but no thanks?
Well, kids is different because that's Mertesacker's call, isn't it? It's not Arteta's. And we know with what he's doing, he's invited Jack Wilshere to do his coaching badges, so they are doing it to an element. But I'm talking about Arteta's team now. I don't see Arteta's, from what I know, from meetings I've had and the conversations I've had with various sources. Arteta doesn't take too lightly to people stepping on the coaching staff stars, and not just him. Albert Headphones as well. They're a very tight group, and I can see the reason why they're in a crucial stage of their development where they've just got a new crop of players that they are just adjusting to the way that they want to play, and so for them,
I got a counter to that because. I know in American football and in NBA basketball, and in fact, most sports, getting tutelage from your peers who have been legends of the game before you came is
everything.
Everything. I mean, imagine this. Jason Tatum wouldn't be the player he is today without the coaching from Kobe.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't know whether you know, we've got Warren Sapp now as our defensive line coach in Washington.
Yeah, you know, you look at the things that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has done with players in the Lakers.
Mm.
And you could, look at, I know famously Lawrence Delalio, was huge in motivating the England rugby team because you got a World Cup winner.
Yeah, I know. I think that I agree with you, and I agree with Vince. I think
we sport where you don't bring back a legend of your team, and say, come and at least, every camp, Miami Dolphins have just had OTAs. Guess who's at OTAs?
Yeah,
Dan Marino every freaking day. It's like, well, bloody hell! If Dan's turning up for OTAs, I'm turning up.
Because guys, we have to understand the gravity of the problem. We've got some serious problems at Arsenal, and
that don't make no sense though, Apollo.
Yeah, I know.
About a legend like Ian Wright.
Yeah,
but Thierry Henry, Pires, Mertesacker. You can name, I'd bring back Santi Cazorla for crying out loud.
Yeah,
there
has been problems with that, but I think over the years, I think we've got better with it. As I said, you've mentioned some of the names that we brought back. We've had Freddie back. He was working with Mertesacker. Eventually, he's had to leave because he wants to become a manager. Wilshire's there now doing his coaching badges, but we need to see more of that. We need to see more of that. There's no two ways about it. Ebony,
the only reason why I say in regards to Tavares, because if you remember Andy Cole, and you're looking to see how Andy Cole was, he was a striker, but if just look at a lot of the similarities to the way how Tavares plays. He's very leggy. He likes to come inside. He likes to run and dribble with the ball. But his defensive side of things just needs that little bit of work. So Tony Adams, huge learning curve for Cole when he came up in the ranks, and look what he did for him.
Don't be surprised if they convert him to a winger. Don't be surprised. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen before. Ebony, what do we do with Tavares, and would you take Pochettino?
Yes, I would take Pochettino. He's a proven manager. All right, he's not won much, but he's a proven manager. Tavares, I would actually keep him and develop him in-house. If Arteta isn't the one to develop him, then somebody in the Arsenal camp will develop him to make him the player that we want him to be. So for me, it doesn't make any sense sending him out on loan because let's face it, on the left-hand side, we don't have strength in depth.
So, closing comments, guys. So, first of all, thank you for everybody. It was a very in-depth stream. It just goes to show some people do streams just for the sake of doing streams, but we had a lot to cover today, which was very important. And it's almost like the football gods have blessed us because a lot of good news has come through today. And in my opinion, my closing comments is I've wanted this team to do one thing this summer, and that is do your business early. Too many times they've just waited till lastminute.com and we're sitting there with 3 games already played and half of the team ain't even developed yet. And it's just something that frustrates the hell out of me. So I just want to say, and also the players that have been bought as well. I've been saying for months, if we follow up on the players and I'm talking about Edu now, I'm talking about the scout, the technical director, whose job it is to go out there and find players. For me, he's been the telling factor and the most important person this summer for the club. And I think that the players that he's got are going to be a real asset to the team. I really do. And it all falls on his shoulder in terms of what type of team we're gonna see. And the fact that he's got this business done early, congratulations. Essential business for him. And that's what I've been really pleased about this summer. Tony, what's your closing comments?
Well, I mean, what you have to bear in mind is, if in case you didn't know it, is pre-season training has started already.
I'll start on the 27th of June, officially.
Nah, the pre-season training started already. I've seen Reece Nelson and Eddie Nketiah on pre-season training.
Oh, yeah.
There's people turning up. This is like OTAs. You can choose to come and do some work, or you can stay, you know, because obviously there's the nation's football or whatever it is, stupidness. But the season is upon us, literally within what, pre-season friendly in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So the necessity to do business early is greater than it has ever been.
Especially when your rivals have already done their business too.
Simples. You know,
Vincey?
I think Man United fans are on a meltdown right now.
They are getting left behind, mate.
Yeah, but listen,
Makes a change.
Arsenal need to continue the strategy and make sure we get these players in early doors, acclimatized, trained, friendlied up, so that come Crystal Palace on that first Friday night game, them are ready.
Isn't it funny that Fabio Vieira, I love the name Vieira, isn't it funny that he talked to Man United first before he talked to Arsenal and ended up signing with Arsenal? That's where Man United is right now.
Same hand with Ramsey, innit?
Yeah, exactly the same thing. Vincey,
yeah, man.
What's on your mind, bro?
No, it's a good signing. It's nice that you're hearing positive thoughts now that they're gonna cement the Jesus and Eddie signing, and it's just getting shape to how the season is going to start. I think for me, the biggest thing is seeing the fixtures come out and actually going through the first 10. And I'm thinking, we're going to have a good start to the season. And then I start to see the end, and I'm thinking, wow, where Arsenal going to win the championship? Where is it going to be?
And we are going to do it
every year.
We are going to do a prediction on the first 10 games, by the way. So that's going to be bonkers.
But I love seeing the fixtures come out. When that comes out, it's like, you know, the season, as Tony says, pre-season's licked in now. It's training. It's around the corner. I just want the guys to put the business in now and just have a balanced team. You know, we've got players coming. There's no excuse. There wasn't an excuse last year, as far as I'm concerned, whether it's a small squad or not. This season, you're going to have more players, more pressure. Just play football, man. Play football.
Ebony, what's on your mind? Closing comments?
Look, pre-season is good for one thing for me, and that's seeing how players play. But for me, the bread and butter is in the Premier League, and that's, you know, the first 10 games. All right, Crystal Palace, that's our banana skin. That's been proven time and time again. Is our first game. I'm confident that we'll get a win, but at the same time, you know, I'm not gonna get my knickers in a twist with, you know, how, you know, where we're going to come in the league and all of that. I'm going to leave it until after the first 10 games, and then I will make my pre-prediction.
So you're not going to take part in our the first 10 games?
No, I will.
Okay. Yeah.
But making a prediction for the first 10 games and actually playing the first 10 games, they're two separate things. And I'm not going to get, you know, it is. I want that jersey, but I'm not gonna start, you know, like jumping up and down and get all into, thank you very much, into some kind of pandemonium until I see us play physically the first 10 games.
By the way, guys, as you could probably see, it is a happy birthday to Ebony. So I'm gonna wish. I'm not gonna sing a happy birthday on the stream. I ain't gonna do that. But I just want to wish you all the best for today, guys. Listen, that's it. I will keep you all posted, and let's probably come back in another week and have a look and see what changes and confirmations that we've had. But until then, I will keep you guys posted with daily updates. Speak to you guys later, man. Peace out, everybody. And we are on our way, guys. We are on our way. Nice one, man. Nice one.